everyone. Welcome to Vertus Vision. This is the segment of the channel where I sit down with people from different industries and different backgrounds who I think have really great insights and information to share. So today I would like to welcome Robert Craig. Rob is the CEO and founder of Datable Technologies. This is a company which has innovated a really interesting and specialized platform for their clients who can then reach out and form even better reach and relationship with their own clients. So welcome, Rob, and I'm going to give you a little background about Rob. So Rob he is really an OG in the technology industry. He was really a pioneer in the dot-com industry back in the 90s. He has sold and innovated technology all over the world. What can I say? Award-winning, the Deloitte & Touche Fast 50 Award, Vancouver's 40 Under 40. That was a few years ago. The Entrepreneur of the Year, shortlist. I mean, I could go on and on. You are an expert in the field, and therefore you are canvassed a lot your opinion in different period pieces on TV and radio. So I'm thanking you now for your time sitting down with Vertus to chat about what you do and hopefully share some of your insights. Cool. So why don't you give me a little rundown of some of your clients and what it is that Datable Technologies does?
So we're a marketing automation company. We help brands connect with consumers through different channels: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, mobile, and TikTok these days. So yeah, our software allows brands to connect with consumers and reward them for engaging with the brand, making purchases, sharing videos, taking polls, things like that. We focus on the US market, and we focus on Fortune 500 companies. So Red Bull, Universal Pictures runs their global rewards platform off our technology, 20th Century Fox, so we're pretty heavy into the studio space, but consumer packaged goods companies like Kellogg's and Unilever and some of the big companies that you recognize in your home.
Heavy hitters.
Yeah, definitely. We going after the big companies for sure.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously you're a visionary. Now I know you. You're a good friend, so
Sure.
I know what you're all about. But when I think of the term vision or having vision, I define that as being able to see something before it's become a reality. Like, how would you define having vision?
Yeah, well, I think that's part of it. I think that vision is kind of a really open-ended statement. Everybody has their own definition of vision, but to me, vision is looking at trends and being able to understand trends and seeing how you can connect monetization to those trends. There's a lot of trends. Like, for example, if you look at TikTok right now, it got big before monetization was attached to it. So we're stepping into it now when monetization capabilities are there. So for us, the vision is not just kind of the technology, but can we monetize it and can we make money from it?
And knowing when.
Yeah, knowing when to step in, because generally I've been an early adopter all my life. So what an early adopter is it's only about 15% of the market. So 15% of the market will buy early adopter technology. Mm-hmm. So if you think about that, you're only getting a very small portion of the market, and when you're launching new technology, so very difficult to find these people. And essentially what you're doing is you're looking for crazy people like you to buy your technology. But if you can get in the early adopter space and set up shop and to get IP, intellectual property, get knowledge, get infrastructure, get people, and get some clients, once it hits mainstream, what Jeffrey Moore calls crossing the chasm, you're really set up to really explode. So that's what we've always done, tried to get in early. It's hard, try to focus on big brands, focus all of our efforts in the US market, and it can be really rewarding if you get it right.
Yeah, and you have gotten it right many times. You've worked all over the world, and like I said before,
Sure.
Big brands.
We've had things blow up too, right?
Yeah, we'll talk about challenges
Sure.
and how you deal with them, but I wanted to ask you first, being a visionary, how did you take something unrealized and move that into a tangible business plan? What were the first steps in doing that?
Yeah, so there's a saying which I absolutely believe is that 80% of one's success is guaranteed for just showing up. That's the hard part. I mean, all of us have been done it. We've talked with our friends, oh, what about doing this? And we'd like to do that, and this would be awesome. And those conversations are going on all the time, but very few people actually set up shop and execute on that. And so the crowd gets thinner at 80%. If you show up on time with a plan, it gets to 85% of your success. So the crowd gets thinner and thinner as you go along that cycle. But I always say that there's 5 things to building a company, a successful company. The first, you got to come up with an idea. And now people say, there's ideas are a dime a dozen, but I'm not talking about. I'm talking about an idea that you'd invest your all your money into. You'd stop your job. You'd commit your whole life to. You'd get your family and you get your friends. And I'm talking about an idea you'd commit everything to. So coming up with an idea is hard. A good idea that you're willing to commit everything to. So that's the first step. The second step, we're in technology, and so you got to be able to build it. I mean, I could come up with an idea beaming from here to Los Angeles, but the technology is not there. You got to be able to build it. So you got to be able to actually be able to build this technology, and then you got to be able to sell it. Right? So when you're selling technology, people don't realize that, but generally you're selling, especially at large companies, you're selling to people at the top of their game. They make their career path is based on their decisions on that. And so they don't care about a little Vancouver company and their idea. It's got to make sense to them. So you got to be able to sell it, but you still don't have a company because it's only until they buy it again, they pay you twice. So they buy it the first time, but they come back and buy more because the first time they got ROI on it and made sense to them. After you can get returning customers, then you got a company.
That's where the magic happens,
Yeah,
right? Yeah. When talking about setting up a company, what were some of the challenges that you initially bumped up against, and how did you overcome them?
Well, all those 5 steps that I talked about, there's huge challenges all along the way. I mean, starting with yourself, getting up in the...
So for you, what are the ones that stick out to you when you first
I would say access to capital. Access to capital. I mean, the ideas, the market's changing in technology. There's a lot of opportunity for ideas. There's a lot of opportunity for viable businesses, and there's a lot of great ideas and great businesses on there, but they sit in the sidelines because they can't get funded. Because technology requires money, a lot of money, and not mom, pop, friends and family money. It requires millions of dollars. And investors are smart. They're careful with their money, especially professional investors. I mean, it's one thing to get your cousin or your mom to back you and give you money, but to get a professional investor to give you money, they're very, very careful. So access to capital is really hard to get, and that's what I'd say the ongoing challenge has been for me and businesses is access to capital. And then I'd say the second thing is people, good people, because you can only be so good yourself. Your partner can be only so good yourself, but you got to scale, and to that you need people. And you need smart people and people that can scale, people that can start at one point and grow as the tide rises. As you get bigger, grow with that. So people is another really big challenge, especially here in Vancouver. Sony ImageWorks just a few years ago located their global headquarters here in Vancouver. They got 1,000 animators in Vancouver. Microsoft, Amazon. So there's a lot of competition for tech people. So people is another big challenge.
Yeah. So those are the two.
Those are the 2 big ones that jump in. I mean, good software testing, accessing, going into the U.S. market, that's another big challenge I would say too. So when you're going after Red Bull or Universal Pictures and you go into those boardrooms, more than likely you're competing against Silicon Valley companies, technology companies. So you're competing against some of the brightest and smartest people in the world, backed by some of the smartest money in the world. So when you go into those boardrooms, it's hyper competitive, and if you don't show clear and concise differentiation in that boardroom, you're done. You're home. They send you home, and that's one of the reasons why we always compete in the U.S. Because when you go into New York or Chicago or L.A. and you go into these boardrooms, you find out very quickly if you can compete. So you fail fast, and you go back to Vancouver, tail between your legs, rebuild, come back at it again. So it's a really good model for us, and it's really refined us quickly.
So when you have had those failures, because obviously everyone has had some. What do you do? How do you regroup? How do you go back at it after?
Yeah, failures are tough. I mean, they talk a lot about it, but it's really hard, and it's something you have to deal with on your own. And really, to me, it's a mind game, and it's how you think, what you think, how you focus your thoughts. I mean, everybody's got on Christmas morning or their birthday, and they say, "Oh, today's going to be a great day. Today's so awesome," and you get that juice, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to find that juice when you're scared and you're nervous and you have no money and you don't have customers and you're running all that stuff. And so, to me, mental discipline is like physical discipline. It's not something, it's like running a marathon. You don't just run a marathon, you train for it, and you start slowly. So mental discipline is something that I'm always training for. I'm always starting slowly and building up, but I've gotten stronger and stronger over the years, so it's hard to knock me down for too long. I still get knocked down, but it's hard to knock me down.
You have a huge reserve of energy. That's one thing about you that I've always known.
Sure.
And you touched on mindset, and I was going to ask you, I know you really take care of yourself physically. You're a runner, you work out. How important do you consider mindset to be when you are an entrepreneur, when you have, started these businesses with the magnitude of business that you have produced. How important do you consider
The mind, it
approach?
definitely is, if you don't, you can be in great shape and you can eat really well, but if you don't have your head together, you're done. It's as simple as that. There's a lot of people in great shape that are, at home, you're hiding. And so the mental, I put a lot of time. Like I get up early every morning. I do an hour of autogenics, which is it's a hypnotherapy, meditation type of thing, a visualization to exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So I do an hour of that every day. I block off an hour in the middle of the day, and I block off an hour at night. And part of the reason for that is because I've suffered from terrible migraines the last few years, and I just had to get control of the migraines. And it's just because I was so amped up for so long, my system was breaking down. And how I overcame that, like I've overcome everything, is really mental exercises. And what you say to yourself and how do you talk to yourself is so critical.
Yeah.
And your subconscious, I mean, the hypnotherapy has really helped me just talking into my subconscious and be able to talk to myself, getting into a meditative state and talking to myself and visualization, and that's really, really powerful. So I would equate that to running and eating healthy and sleeping properly, and it's right up there for sure.
You're speaking my language.
Yeah.
And I really agree.
You've helped me, so.
Yeah, it was a pleasure. You are actually really good to work with, because you have that. I think you were already there mentally, very easy to take into that theta state, that deep state. So yes.
Yeah, just on that, I think it's kind of like a runner that learns a new sport, or somebody that's in shape and learns a new sport. They can adapt pretty quickly. So I think mentally I was very agile, and hypnotherapy just kind of worked with me because I was already prepared and I was ready.
And the more you go there, the quicker you can get there.
Yeah.
And I think you're a fan of Wim Hof too.
Absolutely. I have a cold shower every morning. I can hold my breath for 4.5 minutes, and that's part of my hour every morning.
Wow, good for you.
I've got my daughter videotaping me. Actually, nobody believes me that, but I can show you the videotape.
I would love
it seems
I'm a fan of his too. I know he uses a lot of the subconscious mind power.
Absolutely, yeah.
So that does give you mental acuity, and it also, I think, gives you an edge to the game.
Yeah.
The business.
And whether you're competing here in Vancouver or in Toronto or in LA or the US, I mean, it's a hyper competitive market. There's a lot of people want your business. They want Universal Pictures. They want 20th Century Fox. And you got to use everything you can to stay ahead of the game. And so the mental side of things is really important to me.
Yeah, definitely. So from there, so your day, let's talk about it. You know that you start a day and you sometimes see the beginnings of bad things happening. How would you convert what looks like could be a bad day into a good day? What do you do?
Yeah, so I've got a routine that I protect against that. So I start with an hour of visualization and meditation, but still, like, you can still get hammered with your thoughts. You lose a big deal, you're worried about funding, whatever it is. But I do a gratitude list. Like, I get down to the mindfulness, the real simple stuff. Thank you for this car, this warm car. Thank you for this job. Thank you for this air. I really get down to the basics, and I'm gratitude based. So I've got a gratitude list, and I've learned it's like, running. You can walk instead of running on the treadmill, or you can run. You got to run, right? So you can just rattle off the gratitude list but not work it. But you got to work that list. And to me, I've got a win list. So I'm a big list guy. So you can go on my phone, you can look, what was my win today? What was my win yesterday? I got a win list, and I keep a tally. And so when I get down, I go to my win list, and I say, oh my gosh, I got this, I got that. And it helps a lot. So anything, I'm using everything I can, because the mental game can make or break you. And in this business I'm in anyway, it can make or break you.
Well, touching on acknowledging small successes, for instance, my definition of success is not the same as what it may have looked like 10 years ago. What is your current definition? I know everyone has a different metric for success. What is your definition for success, and has it evolved since you started as a young sort of nubile, fresh in the industry 20 years ago?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, obviously business wins are a success, but if you're at the early adopter business, you don't have a lot of really big business wins for a good period of time. And so I look at things I can control. I can control being a good husband. I can control being a good father. I can, those are wins for me, right? So if I put the time into my kids or my wife, I can control that. I can control if I work out. I can control if I eat properly. I can control if I do my mental exercise. So I try to focus on the things I can control and I can win at. And those are wins to me. So I start with that. Now, I don't want to deny the business wins. Business wins are important, but I was saying to myself, remember who you are. and you forget sometimes when you get down and you get beaten up. And believe me, I don't want to put out a vision that I don't get down, don't get beaten up, but I have these tools that I've used over a period of time to get me back up, and remembering who I am is a big part of that.
It's such a good plan. You've got all your everything in a row.
Yeah, it's just a list of tools I've used, to keep me on my A game, because we're in tier 1 brands in the U.S. and what I say to people that work with me, we're playing A ball, and you're against hyper competitive people, so you got to bring your A game, and I try to do that as much as possible.
What would you, if there's anyone watching who does have a vision that they want to make into a reality, what would you advise them on in terms of not logistical preparation in starting a business, but the mental preparation required? What would you say?
I'd go back to show up. I know that's tactical, but it's also visionary too. You've got to show up. You've got to decide that this is what you want to do. And so many people sit in the fence. They want to play with the idea. They want to fool around with the idea. It's kind of fun, and that's great. But people that really want to do it, they have to show up. And showing up in your mind is the first step in deciding and making that decision. I'm in, and I'm doing it. And then, it's a social goal. You want to tell people about it, because then you're accountable to your friends in the family network. There's certain goals you keep to yourself, like I want to be the smartest person in this room, and there's certain goals that social goals you tell people about, and you get accountability. You need to be accountable to yourself, but you need to show up. That's a really big, that's something that's really, people underlook that.
Yeah. You've shown up in a big way in your career. I've been there for so much of it.
Sure, yeah.
One of the things I forgot to mention in your bio is you're the guy who bought me my shots on I think it was my 22nd birthday.
Really?
That was you.
That's a win. There's a win. That would go on my win list. I forgot about that.
It was win-win.
Yeah.
So I will say that we've known each other more years
time,
than I care to admit.
Yeah.
But let's do something fun now. By the way, thank you for all your insights.
Sure, absolutely.
Wonderful. Let's do something fun. Let's play rapid fire.
Okay.
Okay. So, baseball or basketball?
Baseball. I play baseball. So I'm on 4 baseball teams, so baseball's the easy win.
Okay. I'm offended, but I'll give you that one. What about ziplining in Costa Rica or boating down the Seine in Paris?
Oh, Seine in Paris. I love Paris. My wife and I honeymooned in Paris, and then we went back 10 years later, so Paris, all about Paris.
Well, that was a trick question.
Oh, okay.
I knew
just
you
watch
had
it.
to go to Paris.
Exactly. Of course, yeah.
How about Audible or a physical book?
Well, actually neither. I mean, I'm Kindle. I used a Kindle when it came out 15 years ago. I haven't gone back. I mean, I can't use a physical. Too clunky. But I'm definitely a reader, a book person for sure. But it's Kindle.
You
Everything's
still
on the
like
Kindle.
to hold something.
Yeah, but I can lie in bed. I can read it anywhere. I can take it with me. I can put it in my back pocket. Kindle's the way to go. I won't go back to a physical book. I know people like the tactical part of it, but I Kindle.
I vacillate between the two.
Good, yeah.
Yeah. So how about camping or spa retreat?
No, camping. I'm a camper.
Yeah.
I'm a camper. The kids will tell you that. I go camping by myself. Another part of the mental game, a couple times a year I go up in the mountains by myself, because my whole life is zzz. I've got 6 kids, as you know, so I come from a long day and I go home and I'm a dad, right?
Yeah.
And I'm very serious about that. So I have a really busy life, and so I go up a minimum twice a year just to stop the noise and chill out and get my head together.
Well, I'm going to ask you one more rapid fire, and then I just want to circle back to what you were just saying. Dictator or collaborator?
Collaborator. But you know what? Sometimes you got to be a dictator. You got to run a dictatorship. There's a time to be a dictator, but we're at a point where collaborations. Once you start getting some people around that know what they're doing, can add to the conversation, add value. There's other times where you're just working with people that are very junior, and you need to run it, and you need to run it well. And a dictatorship is appropriate at a certain time, but we're at collaborate, and I'm a big collaborator. I don't like the dictator stuff, but sometimes it's necessary.
You're a collaborative dictator.
Yeah,
so I want to circle back to decompression.
Sure.
So you have this full day of meetings, production, creation, everything. How do you decompress? And like you said, you have 6 kids. You have a really full life. Yeah. You're very active. So what are the things you do to really just take yourself out of it all and decompress, other than camping by yourself?
Sure, yeah. So my kids will tell you, I go home and they see me lying on the living room floor doing an hour of autogenics and hypnotherapy, and that's how I wind down. It's like, it's a meditative, autogenics is a form of meditation, talking to your body, and visualization, and hypnotherapy you know all about, and combine those two together and just wind down. And I was really forced to do that with the migraines. The migraines, as I mentioned, hit me really hard last year, and really forced to up my game mentally, and that's just amazing. Like, even just talking to you now, I'm chill, and maybe a year ago I'd be talking a mile a minute and moving my hands, but yes.
Well, it's funny because you still talk very quickly and you're very energetic,
Yeah.
but I can see the change in you.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
I can see that you've really taken it down, and the hypnotherapy, yes, agreed, it's wonderful. It's wonderful to sort of tap in and remove blocks too, and really be able to reach the full level of capability that you can possibly reach. And it's too bad when you are forced in a situation, a physical situation of, in your case, migraines, where you're forced to try alternative
Right.
therapies,
Yeah.
when they're great for so many mainstream things.
Sure. Yeah. No. And yeah. I mean, that writing into your subconscious like that, very powerful. So I'm
Yeah.
a big believer in that.
Well, thank you so much, Rob,
My
for
pleasure.
sitting down, sharing insights and your wisdom with us. And I would love to sit down with you again sometime in the future. Would you be up for it?
Oh, absolutely, Allison. Anytime.
Okay, and anyone watching, I am going to link Rob's info below. If you do want to know more about Datable Technologies or just about Rob, you can hit the link. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon.